You don't have to worry about a single thing. Just let me sing to you. Oh, you don't have to worry about a single thing. Just let me sing to you.
Everyone. Good morning, Phil. Like your entrance. Good morning to everyone on Zoom. Hope you guys all had a wonderful.
You come in at 10:03, you get a call out.
Yeah. Right? Hope you guys all had a good holiday weekend. Yeah, it went by fast. All of a sudden it's Tuesday.
So fast,
it's like,
yes.
wait,
Before you know it'll be Friday.
You know.
We all have a lot to do in a little bit of time.
Yes. Hopefully lots of you guys sold houses this weekend. Memorial Day is kind of a big weekend. Anyone? What?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
That's good. Awesome. And then hopefully you had some fun too. Not just. Austin, I love the patriotic background. We have a really good CE class. Actually, we have a couple really good ones coming up. This Wednesday, it is in partnership with WFG, and it's called Adding Space in Style. And I actually saw that they had this class at another brokerage like 6 months ago, and I was like, I want that class. This one looks really good. And it's all about adding square footage to your house in a pleasing design way, right? The most like bang for your buck, the most marketable for the future. So it's supposed to be a really good class. So lunch and learn. Is there a registration link?
Yes, on our website homepage.
Okay, on the website there's a registration link. And tomorrow, that's tomorrow. Jeez, okay.
I had to buy some new clothes because I've been getting a little thicker in the middle, and I was adding space and stuff. I hope.
Where?
I hope.
Adding space.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll talk about the next one in a sec. Okay. Also tomorrow, Wednesday is really sneaking up here. Austin, come tell everyone about the command classes.
Yeah. So reports. This I feel like a broken record. Is this another slept on applet and command? I feel like it is. Like it's so reports. If no one's like. You guys are probably familiar with contacts, familiar with opportunities, right? So there's things that you are familiar with in command, but reports, you may have never clicked on it. It's possible, or you may have clicked on it and you're like, no, there's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of just things to get set up, but it is honestly like, I love it. It's actually one of my favorite ones because this is kind of where you can set up goals, visualize your goals. It pulls things in like, how much do you want to earn in GCI in a year? And you can set that up and break down the numbers to know exactly on a per month basis, how many people do you need to contact, how many leads, how many appointments, how many under contract, how many closed, and do things like that. And there's also a bunch of other cool things that you can do there where, when it comes to reports in general around your whole, like all of command, whether it's the campaigns and things like that.
Is this replacing reports in MyKW?
At some point, I think, yes, absolutely. Like they already did things with like profit share and stuff that you can pull into command now. And they're actually, as of this month, they've done a lot in command in general to change things from MyKW. Some people, if you've had issues with like, I've had a couple people this last week with passwords or email addresses or something like that. It used to be, I could go into MyKW and do it for you. They've now made it read only. Like you have to go into command now and do those things. And they're completely changing.
But what do you think? I mean, knowing what's wrong with the house and knowing that the property is a pretty good, size lot, and what the market is, what do you think?
Yes.
Those key. Apparently not.
Oh.
Okay. I heard this like a few years ago and it really resonated with me. I had a friend who used to be a builder. He got into real estate and he always would talk about knowing his numbers. He was really, really good with figuring out how much he was spending on advertising and the boom he got for a buck. And I heard this quote a few years ago by this guy named Peter Drucker, and he's Austrian American management consultant. Anyways, he said,
He's a big business guy.
he's a big business guy. He said, what gets measured gets managed. And I just like that resonated so much with me. So you need these reports. Otherwise, you're just out there with a fire hose hoping you're gonna whatever. You're not like, you need to like have some sort of method. And you need to be able to track what it is you're doing. And so these reports are so important for that.
That's a good quote.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I think is with it, some people do get a little intimidated by the whole idea of like visualizing or setting up your like in, you know, what your revenue is, your expenses, you know, what's the difference between cost of sale and expenses. It breaks it down so easily. Like it'll be so elementary and easy to navigate that I think this is a good way to get into something that as a real estate agent, you are your own accountant in a lot of ways. You are your own marketer, there's just a lot of things there that, you know, we have strengths and weaknesses, but I think Command is done very well to help with like maybe what people may see as their weakness and navigating it through pretty seamlessly and holding your hand through the whole process. But yeah, I'm happy to show anyone who's interested in just setting that up.
Cool. And then if you have other Command questions or things you want to talk about, you can also go, right? And talk, ask them then.
If you guys don't know your numbers, you're just a salesperson and you'll only be a salesperson.
Ooh.
You know your numbers, you'll be a business person.
Okay, I like it. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock, just show up here. Next up, so is today the last book club of Atomic Habits?
Yeah, today's our last.
Okay, today's the last Atomic Habits book club. And then next week is the first Strength of the Oak, Strength of the Willow book club. So right after this, 11 o'clock is the Atomic Habits one, and then we're keeping the same time. So pick up a book for the first Strength of the Oak, Strength of the Willow book club meeting. There is reading to be done prior to that. So stop by, see Sydney, and get a book, and it should be another good one. And I love these book clubs. It's an opportunity to just talk about the books as you read them, hold yourself accountable to actually read it, and have some good discussions. Josh, thank you for hosting the Atomic Habits
Yeah,
one.
that's
I'm
awesome.
looking forward to just continuing like 11 o'clock book clubs forever. If you have a book suggestion then for the next one,
Oh,
let us know.
good idea.
Tell Austin, or any of us. There's so many good business books and sales books and mindset books. Well, I mean, there's a million different good ones, sales books. So, okay, the next week we have another good CE class.
Mhm.
This one's partnered with Lawyer's Title. This is on middle housing, and this same teacher, what's his name? Tim, do you know his name?
Yeah.
Tim something, I can't remember. He is works at Lawyers, but he does all of like the zoning and the development. So
This
he's
is the guy that came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
He taught the zoning.
Really good
class. He was
presenter.
So good.
Mhm.
He said he teaches a couple other classes. We're like, we want to get all of those in here.
Tim.
So Tim Young. So he just updated the middle housing class to be very, very relevant. And this has to do with being able to add ADUs, additional dwellings on single family residence lots. So, but there's a lot of new information there now. Like
Yeah.
when it first rolled out, it was kind of like unsure how each city was gonna implement some of the rules and regulations. And so now it's a new updated class. Anyways, should be really good. He's a great presenter, really knowledgeable. After the last class, it was like people were lined up to ask him questions.
Yeah, literally. Like, and this will be the third time we've had this discussion, but it's an ever-changing,
Mhm.
it's an ever-changing, because like Crane said, nobody was quite sure what it was gonna be. Now they're starting to use it. And now what's great about the country we live in is people are using it and manipulating it and working it and so it's like a law gets made, but nobody really knows how it's going to work. Now they're starting to figure out how it works. And so this will be really much more informative, I bet, than the previous classes we had.
I love it.
And he's a much better presenter than the other people who
He's
presented
really
on it.
good.
Yeah.
So register for that one. All the CE classes are in person only and lunch is provided. So keep coming. And if you see any topics that you think would be great for a CE class, again, let us know. And because we keep scheduling these based on things that we think are valuable, even if you don't need the CE requirement, like even if you're a new agent and don't necessarily need the CE requirement this year, that's a great topic that everyone should learn about. Okay, and then a couple just industry events we want to just highlight. The PMAR Bolorama event is next week. And you can go to pmar.org events to learn more about that event. And let me actually add, it's the Young Professionals Network within PMAR who's hosting this event. So young, there's no restrictions around young, it can be young at heart, but really just networking and a good event. And if you go to that events page, you can see all the different events that they have coming up throughout the year.
Could be young compared to Peter.
Younger than. And if you were on last week, that one didn't really hit.
I know, I thought it was pretty good. I don't know, this is really good.
If you were on, yeah,
I don't
Tom
know.
was here, hosting our meeting,
That was good.
and he's our PMAR president for this year and next year. So, if you have questions about any of the PMAR committees, reach out to him as well. And then you are? He was? Okay.
He's making it up. He's probably really good though.
He's probably good.
Like everything Tony does, he's really good at it.
Yeah. The Women's Council of Realtors is having a golf tournament in a couple of weeks too. So June 23rd, if you want to play, have a foursome, register there, look for more info. We're only doing 9 holes so that everyone can, get back to work, get back to business, but breakfast is provided, lunch is provided.
Megan, are you playing?
Portland Premier sponsoring a hole.
Out of town.
Oh,
Wow, it should be a good time. So if you're interested or have questions, click on that link.
I wish my hands finished like that. Jeez.
Yeah.
They don't get that high.
Oh,
It's a dream finish.
oh my gosh. Okay, and then headshots. So it's been a while since we had Randy, our photographer, in.
We're working on that. The tentative, it's on the it's tentative. We're trying to figure out solidify a time. So sorry, I may have moved that slide, but
Okay, so there's no slide. Is this
No
it?
slide.
So we'll still talk about it though. Randy, our photographer, every once in a while, we'll have her in to do headshots for you guys, complimentary. I mean, we pay for them. And we'll probably book like 5 or 10 minute increments for like a few hours that she's here, just as a chance to freshen up your headshot if you don't have a professional headshot. And she usually does them in this room, so she can do outside too with the lighting. But stay tuned, tentatively set for June 15th. Is that date for sure?
no,
Or
no,
tentative.
she's working on the schedule. She said she won't know by June till this Thursday.
Oh, okay. So stay tuned for that. But if you need a new headshot, get ready. Okay, so today we're gonna play this little video and then we're gonna
What?
talk about it. Oh, Josh,
Yeah, sorry, no.
Austin, you didn't
No.
put it on my
Yeah.
sheet.
Yeah.
I'm blaming Austin today. Josh, come up and tell us about what's going on in lending from Academy. We haven't had a lending update in a little bit and all the news to tell us what's going on, but
All right, well, so we can talk a little bit about the market. Lending sort of in general. We had been on sort of a downward spiral in terms of mortgage bond performance, which was causing rates to get back up over sort of their top. They're back up over 7 last week. And so basically for the last 3 weeks, they've been worsening. And a big part of that was this crisis with the debt ceiling that was looming. Now, this weekend, we had some positive news that there is a deal in the works that sounds like it's been, agreed upon with the administration that does pass Congress. But just the news of it has shown some improvement today. Mortgage bonds were up about 41 basis points this morning, which is great. Dips dips rates back, down about a quarter or so into the, mid to high 6s, which, still not great, but better than it was and showing some improvement. There's a lot of economic news this week, mostly towards the end of the week where we're supposed to have the ADP and BLS job reports. With those reports, we're expecting to see underperformance in job creation, which should be good for moving mortgage bonds again in a positive direction. So all this means, keep pushing people towards their pre-approvals, getting them ready. making sure that they're in a good place so that when a deal pops up, they can move on it. And I had this conversation with somebody this weekend who was putting in an offer that you don't have to lock in today just because you're putting in your contract. We will float you. There's supposed to be some economic news coming out, and we'll lock you in once we see some hopeful improvement. So that's what we did. We ended up getting them under contract. So we're getting that rolling, and we're going to float for a little bit. Some additional news is
Wait, can you talk a little bit
Oh,
more about
sure.
that? Does it cost extra to float or what it's
doesn't cost anything to float.
Okay.
So the risk of floating is, so you go under contracts, you get your, order your appraisal, start doing your inspections, all your stuff, right? So instead of locking in your interest rate, you float and hope for some improvement. The risk, of course, is that it gets worse instead of better. So basically, you just have to have that conversation with your client. That's something, I will do with my clients and say, here's where it is today, it's up to you. We can do it this way today, or here are some of the, indicators and news that's coming out in the next couple of weeks that may move things, better or worse. And of course, there's no crystal ball, but we can give them a good idea and allow them to make that decision on whether or not, they want to lock or float. So we've got 2 people right now who are choosing to float, which is totally fine. I think on Friday, hopefully we get some news that may push in one direction or another. And you have to lock within sort of a minimum of about a week before closing. Make sure you have time to get your disclosure, sign your closing disclosure out so you can close on time. So,
Cool.
yeah, but there's no cost to float
Okay.
Awesome.
unless it gets worse.
Yeah, and that's the
Right.
cost. Yeah,
That's the cost.
the gamble.
So, yeah,
But the Fed likes it when jobs are bad, right?
In this case, right?
In this case.
Yeah.
so when the jobs report is, when job creation isn't as good, or you see negative job report. So the anticipation right now is that we're going to see job creation, however, just not to the expectation that they would like to see. And so as a result, that's, not as good of news, which tends to help the bond market versus the stock market. And so when the bond market improves, that helps mortgage rates, because mortgage rates are based off mortgage-backed securities, which is traded on the bond market.
Cool.
Everybody still awake? Okay. There was also some news out about home appreciation. It's usually a couple months behind, but the March numbers came out, and there was home appreciation of 0.4%. But once you pull out the cash buyers, who, as we know, cash, a lot of times will get you a discount on a house. But once you pull that out, the numbers look even better for home appreciation. And the expectation is that home appreciation will get back to around 5-6% towards the end of the year as it averages out. So some, continued good news in housing. Our inventory is still low, which is driving, prices. Rates are supposed to start steadily improving. And, with that, our market's still strong. Hopefully that'll help bring in some more inventory though. too. So.
I mean, imagine if we could get ourselves in the 5s, our market would just take off.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, any other specific mortgage questions I can help with?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Update.
sir.
All right,
Appreciate it.
you bet.
Thanks, Josh. And if you think of any questions, you can always go ask Josh and the Academy team. Okay, now we're gonna watch a little video. It's only about 10 minutes and then we're gonna talk about it, but it is an interview that Gary Keller had with Cody Gibson, who is the OP of another one of the local Keller Williams, and he is top bold. So a lot of you guys have maybe seen him in bold, but they're talking about lead generation and in this market right now, just some things to think about and some tips and tricks. And so We're just gonna watch this real quick and then we're gonna have some conversations about some of the things they say.
So this year, your company, United Homes, will sell how much real estate do you think? Just guessing.
We're on track for about 1,700 units. And we walked into this year looking for 23 or 2,400. And as soon as we got to about March or April of this year and started seeing some of that sandpaper of the market shifting, we woke up real fast and we're working. I mean, I don't know. You've said it so many times. You said it in the last shift. You might work twice as hard for the same result.
That's
and right. It feels like we're working twice as hard today for the same or maybe even a tiny bit less of the result. But it depends on the day, right? Like some days we're getting multiple offers and some days we're making multiple calls.
When the market shifts, you have to shift into kind of an over thrive, if you will. You literally have to you're just going to have to put more effort because you have to talk to more people to get close to numbers that you did before.
Right.
So so you think 1,700 units production volume wise? Do you think that is?
We'll end somewhere about 9.5 million in GCI.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think we'll be just shy of 10 million. Again, we were looking at, all right, this is the year because we hadn't broken 10 before. And we thought this is the year that we're going to go in and do 12 and a half. And I think we're going to end at 9.5, 9.8, just shy of 10 million. That's
terrific. So let me ask you a question directly. And that is, what are you guys crushing right now? What are you doing that you're just crushing it? You want to tell us about?
Man, as unsexy as it sounds, if I boiled everything down to what we do really exceptionally, extraordinarily well, we focus on the absolute basics. We focus on, we've got 75% of our company right now every day tracking number of contacts made. As basic as that sounds, and now some of them, there's 310 people in our organization today. So some, their goal is 15 contacts a day, some it's 25, some based on their database or their business, or they just moved to that city, they're having to make 30 and 40 contacts a day. But the one thing that we're doing extraordinarily well is holding it accountable. How many contacts? And then from there, when they're making enough contacts every day, then we can start looking at, okay, great. How's the conversion rate? Are we converting those contacts to contracts? But what we've learned is, especially this year with the market shift, it's right back to numbers. It's right back to how many can we possibly talk to? Like back to a contact sport.
So let me ask you a question. So if my goal is to make contacts, what's the top ways that I can assure myself that I'm going to make contact?
I think there's three things for us. The first is we're extraordinarily heavy in internet lead generation. We're constantly going out and buying and looking for more and more and more leads, which are really like suspects. And they might become a lead in 12 months or 24 months or 60 months. But we've been at that game for 11 and 12 years. We're still selling homes from people that registered on a website with us 5 and 6 and 7 years ago. So one, we have that. Two, everybody who joins our group, we spend a lot of time on the front end of saying, how big's your database? And for the majority of them, Gary, it's 200 or 300 people. And so when you're making 70 or 100 or 130 contacts a week, you go through your list pretty fast. And by the time you get to week 3, for the majority, we've got to start building the list. So on one hand, I have the list I brought in. On the other hand, how am I dumping more and more names into it? And I wish that was basic, but it's not. And so it depends on what they do. Do they go to church? Are they involved in schools? Are they involved in sports in their school? Like, what do they do that they could possibly meet more people? They can't just go to Starbucks every day.
What are the big, no. Well, you can, but it's, what are the handful of ways to make more contacts?
We have 2 or 3. The first would be open houses. Every one of our people are out. We're back to sitting open houses. In fact, like this year, that's how I knew the market was shifting. I drove by 2 open house signs on the same Saturday with balloons up. And I'm like, uh-oh, The market shifted. We're back to holding them and buying balloons. So we're right back to open houses, which is averaging 6 to 10 contacts on a Saturday or a Sunday. And then the second is building out that list of everybody you know and making sure, how many of these people did I not put in the database? And for most of them that come in, they start at 250 or 300, but we always find 200 more, almost doubling their database from day one or day two with people that should be in that aren't. The third one is some type of geographic or sociographic farming, something they're either a part of or they enjoy doing, or an area that they want to sell in. The challenge on geographic is most of us choose geographic farms that are 2 and 3% turnover rates when really we want 8 and 10 and 12% turnover rates.
So number one, I got to make contacts, right? I have internet leads. I need to contact my database, and then I need to find ways to add contacts to my database, right?
Right.
I need to open house, contact people I already know, do some sort of geographic or sociographic farming. Is that it?
Something you like, something. And on top of all of that, it's really about like the 3-foot rule. If someone's within 3 feet of you, as basic and as silly as this sounds, you've got to find creative ways to mention that you're in real estate, whether that's in line at the grocery store, whether that's, I remember when we're going back to the old stuff, like walking into a bank to deposit a check instead of electronic deposit, because your job is to talk to the humans. Your job is to talk to the people. And I remember, actually, my first sales manager said, why would you ever mail your electric bill? You should go in and pay it and talk to the person at the counter. Now, I don't know that that's 100% applicable today, but the mindset and theory around it is. I've got to talk to the people.
Yeah, find a way, find a reason to talk to a minimum number of people.
Right.
Right.
And then do it again and again and again and again.
Yeah, let's jump up to internet leads. So walk me through, if you were coaching me today on how to be successful with internet leads, walk me through your thoughts on that.
Biggest piece for that today is it doesn't look the way it looked 8 or 10 years ago. Today, every single person knows that when they give their name, their number, their email address, they are not surprised when you contact them. And most of them have put their name and information into 2 or 3 or 4. So for us, it's a very laid back approach. Just wanted to call, just wanted to check in. Hey, wanted to put a real live human being to the name. Do you need anything real estate related this week? Enjoy the site, enjoy the searching. We're here when you're ready, whether it's now or in 10 years.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. Yeah, does contact time matter? I mean, if you get an internet lead, can I wait a day? Can I wait 5 days? Can I wait a week?
Your issue here is speed to lead. The very best in our company, the very best, are contacting in minute 3, 4, or 5. Like it's right now. It's fast.
You're talking about under 5 minutes. Why? And just out of curiosity, why? By the way, I've heard some people try to do it within 10 seconds.
By the time they input their information and go to the next website or look at the next house, like they're getting a phone call or a text or an email from you. I mean, that would be the very, very best. The biggest reason for that, in my opinion, is the attention span. Everything moves so darn fast. Everything is so quick today.
Well, people that moved on.
Right. What we're really trying to do. What's that?
Well, you said it. They've moved on. They were looking at a house, or they were looking at houses, and they answered information, and it captured them at that moment, right?
Right.
Yeah. If you don't contact them while they're still close to that experience, there's a disconnect. And that's why speed to lead matters, right? Did I say that right?
I think you said it 100% right. We think today that the internet lead of today, they will information or converse with a machine. They won't work with a machine. They still want to work with human beings, and they're totally used to it. They're used to artificial intelligence. They're used to bots. They're used to putting it. That's not new. What is new and what people want in their heart is just a human being. And that's why we call as fast as we can, or we text as fast as we can. Hey, just wanted to put a human being to the name. We call it out from the beginning. We're ready when you are, whether it's now or in 10 years. And we're letting them know we're not going to bully you. We're not going to beat you up. We're not going to be in your ear every single day, but we'll match our behavior to your motivation. As silly as it sounds, that consumer wants listings. They don't just want their realtor saying, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? What they hear is, do I get paid? Do I get paid? Do I get paid? They still just want listings.
I love that. And we're dropping the mic. So let's wrap it up with the last thing that you had said, and that is, I'm paid in direct proportion to
the level of questions that I ask.
Bam. Cody Gibson, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, if you want to learn more, just check out these.
The Keller Williams YouTube and on KW Connect. But that one I wanted us to watch today.
Hey, Sid,
Oh,
can
yeah.
you hit the lights for us?
That one I wanted us to watch because it's nice that Cody's a real person in Portland, right? It makes it a little bit less removed. And then also lead generation. It's always good to think about that, right? We think about contacts and adding people to our database, but not getting too removed from that human element. What did you guys take away from that? Or on the Zoom, you can put it in the chat too.
I think what I just wrote down from what Cody Gibson was saying was how casual of an approach they take on the speed to lead. Like, hey, we're here when you're ready. And I like what he ended with, which is that we'll match our behavior to your level of
I thought that was
love
the
that.
goal of that whole conversation right there.
Mhm.
That's such an easy sale. Like, that's such an easy thing to say to somebody.
Right, because nobody wants like that pushy salesman feel, right? Like, what does that make people do? Just like shut down,
Yeah.
right? So, making the contact fast, but then just putting that out there and then following up with that,
Yeah,
right?
it was fun. It
That's a
was,
good
it was
takeaway.
interesting to hear what he said. And it's also the same thing I've heard from the Fox group is that what creates the most of their leads, the number one lead source they have is just the basic contacts of people they know or people they've done business with in the past or people they're meeting. Like that contact sport aspect of this is like
Yes.
still, you know, with all this technology, with AI, with all this stuff, still the best way to meet, the best way to sell a house is to talk to people about houses.
Talk to people, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's great. Like, right, there was nothing in there that was like revolutionary, right?
Mm-mm.
He even said it, like,
Mhm.
it's pretty basic, but it's just that good reminder of like that human to human
Yeah.
connection.
And I think if you're,
Let's ask everyone else.
yeah.
too. You can,
No. Well, I was just gonna say this, like, and if you're struggling finding a way to have conversations like that, what should you do? Anybody have ideas? What's the best way that you can, where can you go where you're likely to find somebody who wants to talk about a house? Where? An open house,
Mhm.
open house.
You can practice on strangers. And I thought you were going for role play.
No, that role play's
Practice
great.
with
but
each
like,
other,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I try to make Austin role play all the time with me. He hates it.
Very
So
anti-role playing.
Yes. But it's about how we're gonna, you know, in our world, it's like, how are we gonna help our agents? So, you know, you flip this into your world. What else did you guys write down or take away from that? Yes.
Yeah.
Holly said, talk to people. Yes. It seems so basic, but right. Like, and holding yourself accountable to the number of contacts that you need to have every day, right? So he said some people are going to be 5, some people are going to be 25, right? You know how many people you have in your database already. If you know a ton of people, you can start by just talking to all those people, right?
Mhm.
If you only have 100 people or 200 people in your database, you're going to need to add more. So how are you getting in front of more people, right?
I think the big thing for me, like listening, like knowing Cody, meeting him, going to bowls,
Yeah.
you know, things like that. Like it's hearing him say like, oh, 10 million in GCI. Like that's not volume. Some people do 10 million in volume as a story.
Yeah.
10 million in GCI.
I like how he just drops that.
And there wasn't anything
Yeah.
that was like, there's no secret formula or revolutionary thing that somehow teams are able to tap into that's more advanced than any other agent. It's like, it's the basic contacting and yeah, they do invest in some kind of lead. It seems like some kind of online lead gen form, but there's things that at a solo agent level are affordable and able to do, whether it's Facebook ads or whatever.
Mhm.
But in reality, like I think the biggest thing that they do most likely is yeah, they learn those scripts of those little nuggets of things where they say, you know, we'll match your motivation, which
Mhm.
I learned, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been afraid of how to talk to people and not sound salesy, and that's a perfect way to just completely obliterate that wall that people will put up.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a really common limiting belief of like, well, I don't want to bug my friends and my, you know, my like, they're probably not buying a house right now, right? But if you just come from a place of like good connection, hey, you know, I'm here. If you do have any questions about the market, you know, just knowing that you're doing that, it doesn't have to come across pushy.
Yeah.
To
And
people.
this is the brutal truth. This is something that it took me 23 years to learn. If you don't want to have your friends be your clients, if you don't feel comfortable talking to the people you know about real estate, then you have to find something else or you're going to fail. And it's just
Right.
that it's black and white. Like you're going to have to find a way, you got to find people somewhere. And if you don't, then you should just go. Like, it's not going to work.
Do you have to do open houses and make cold calls? No, right? You have to talk to people somewhere, right? But some people can do it, right? Like I said, church.
Yeah.
Coaching your kids' sports, you know, network with the parents that pick up and drop off, right? Like use all these situations where you're already in front of people.
Yeah. And what he said
Love
was,
that.
you need to find a creative way to mention that you're into real estate, right? Because it's like, you don't want to be like, a lot of times you say, I'm a realtor, and immediately the person thinks they're speaking to a car salesman, right? So you've got to avoid that you want to find a creative way to bring it into the conversation. And then I loved what he said, I'm here for right now, or I'm here for 10 years or something like that. I was like, that's brilliant. That's like really good stuff. Like it takes away the pressure. Like you don't feel the pressure to close them immediately, and they don't feel like you're closing them immediately, right? So I thought that was really good.
Who has a good thing they say? If you're thinking about the 3 feet rule, right? You're at a grocery store, you're at whatever, a library or wherever you are, right? And there's somebody 3 feet away from you and you start talking. Who has a way that they bring up that they're in real estate? Yeah. Right. Right. You could just say it. So Holly said, buying food for your open house. You know, you're in line at the grocery store and you got some like cookies and balloons and you're just chatting with someone and you're like, oh yeah, I'm on my way to my open house with these balloons and these cookies, right? That's kind of like, that's a pretty easy.
A lot of times
time.
a checker will just ask you, right?
Oh,
Like if you have an interesting
What's
thing,
the
right?
situation?
Exactly, yeah.
You know, another thing that like sometimes works with like, you know, it's a kid's sports game or something. You're like, oh, do you live around here? Start talking, oh yeah, I moved in a couple of years ago, blah, blah, you know, and then you just start talking about like where you live, or how about just like, oh, what do you do for work? Because then like, what are they going to ask you next? Like, right? So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of different ways to get to those conversations, but you need
That's
to
the best
know
one.
for yourself,
Yeah,
like
like
how
in
you
a casual-
get there in a way that feels genuine.
Yeah, if you're getting to know somebody, ask them
Yeah.
what they do for a living,
That's a
they
completely
absolutely
normal
will,
thing.
and they will
Right.
absolutely come back around to you. They'll absolutely ask you what you do.
Right, who wouldn't ask that? And even if
Yeah.
it's your friend, and if it's your like really good friends, and when they say like, okay, so how's real estate going,
Mhm.
right? Like, how you even answer those questions,
Mhm.
right? Do you just say, oh, it's good, like
Mhm.
move on, or like even with your close friends,
Mhm.
making sure they understand the importance of referrals and things like that. Cody talked about the geographic or sociographic farming. So let's talk about that for a sec. Did anyone know what he said was the common mistake that people make? Yeah, picky markets that don't turn over a lot. And where can you find that information out? Title, right?
Yeah, you can do
Yeah.
simple RMLS search too. If you know your geographic boundary, you can just search in the RMLS to see how many houses have closed in that geographic boundary. You should have a geographic boundary to your farm. So some
Well, you
sort.
can always just ask our title friends. They love
Yeah.
to help,
Yeah.
right?
Totally.
You know,
Mhm.
the
I
amount
will
that
say,
title friends
yeah.
can charge is pretty regulated. So
Mhm.
all
They
of the
probably
title
have some
companies
assistance.
provide their value to you in other ways. So that's why they're always so willing to help, right? Sometimes like it can be confusing, like why are they offering
Yeah.
to do all these
Now,
things?
now Cody's 8 to 10 per 12%. They're operating in markets, not just in Portland. There might be operating in markets in Arkansas or Mississippi,
Phoenix and stuff.
Phoenix, where the price point doesn't hit the same. You can have a lower, because our price points here are higher, you don't have to have that 8% necessarily to make it work. But you do want to have turnover. Don't, someplace where there's like 2 or 3 homes selling, it's just not enough. But
Mhm. But I love too, like the sociographic farming too, like if you like have a hobby,
Mhm.
right? Like you like to hunt or something,
Mhm.
right? Like you have your hunting community, or
Yeah.
you have like a hiking Facebook group, or
You
like,
have-
it could be anything,
you have a
right?
huge cars and coffee event,
Yes.
or you
like
play
once a
disc
year.
golf,
Right.
or
So just figuring out how you're gonna talk to enough
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
pretty good. Any other takeaways?
This is one that I've been wondering about for a long time, is like internet leads, right? Like, when should you buy internet leads? Should you buy internet leads? This is an honest question. What do you guys think? You have to buy it. Maybe not buy it, but like participate like in a program, or like when would be what kind of circumstances do you think that would be valuable to you? Originally I thought like if I'm new to the area or I don't have a lot of contacts, I think that it's probably where I would go. And I'm not
I was
really
if you don't
pro
have
it.
enough people, right?
Yeah, if you don't have enough people, you got to get started sometime. And he said it like they've got people in their database that are buying houses they've been talking to for 10 years. Well, that sounds arduous, right? But if you don't start it today, it's like the guy, when was the best time to buy a house?
Yes.
10 years ago. When's the best time to start cultivating leads? 10 years ago, right? So like start now if you're going to do it, right? But I think you have to really commit to it though. You heard what he's talking about reaction time. Like as soon as you get that lead, they're like contacting them in under 5 minutes. And they were going on and on about people's attention spans. But I think it's more likely they went to another house. They clicked, I want the agent to call me on this house. And that agent called them back before you got a hold of them and is giving the information about the property they called you on too. So like it is something you need to be ready and commit to. Sit down. I'm answering phone calls. This is the number one thing I'm doing, because you're buying them, or maybe you're getting it for free, but you've got to be really, really quick on the reaction time. Otherwise, don't do it.
Mhm.
You're just wasting your money.
Right. And I think a lot of agents will find that they don't need to do that once they realize, oh, wait, I can talk to all these different people in all these other ways, right? But knowing your own number, like if you think about it, like 5 contacts a day with people you like 5 human connections of people that you didn't know,
Mhm.
like if you actually just try to do that, that's not that hard at all, right? But in your natural organic life, you might not come in contact with 5 people that you don't know already, or that you haven't contacted already that are in your database. So you might have to like branch out a little bit
Mhm.
in a lot of different ways.
I had lunch yesterday. Well, it was like late lunch with some friends, and one of them's a realtor. And she was talking about, she's all over the place. She's hair wearing it crazy, but like, she's not with her company. And, but she was talking about what she's doing, like what she wants to do, she wants to do videos on health and eating right and tying into houses and what's fresh and do this, all those things. And I'm like, it was all over the place. I'm like, it's a great idea if you do it every day. Like, I'm like, I don't know if she'll do it every day. I hope she'll do it every day. That'd be great for her. But like, if you do it every day, it works. So whatever it is you're going to do it every day. Like, or at least do it 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and commit to it and be consistent with it. Again, if you don't, it's not gonna work.
Yeah. All the
Contacts a day for a year is roughly like 1,100 contacts. That's almost like triple what Gary Keller says is like a sustainable.
That's good math, right?
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Contacts a day. Who couldn't do that?
Yeah, no, so if you
Right?
do 3, that's like 1,100, so roughly
Mhm.
1,100, but yeah, if you were to do that for a full year, that's a sustainable business. And
So
a lot of it's triple of
yeah.
sustainable business, what Gary says, so.
I mean, you could go to Starbucks and have 3 conversations actually
That's assuming
at Starbucks, right?
grabbing their information and putting it in, right,
Mhm.
but maybe not the last time you see them, and who knows,
Mhm.
but.
I love it. And especially like if you're a naturally social person, you're at summer barbecues and things like that, like that's great.
Mhm.
That's like doing your Legion while you're socializing at a barbecue.
Mhm.
That sounds lovely. Who else has anything else to add? I feel like we've been talking.
I know,
a
but
lot. I know, we should stop talking. Who else has things? Does anyone in the chat have anything to say? Ooh.
Well, again, get involved in
Nothing
something too.
revolutionary,
Yeah, nothing,
right?
but if you're struggling to meet people, get involved in something.
Mhm,
Find something you enjoy doing, do it, and meet people doing it.
mhm. And know how many you have to add, even if it's
Yeah.
3 a day, like, that's like a really, when you just put it that simply.
It's, I'm sitting here thinking like, it could take a minute to get there. Like it may not, you're not be able to get 3 a day your first month, but like eventually it's gonna start compounding.
Oh, I was gonna say the opposite, because you can like, it's kind of like you can.
Well,
find
like I think you may
people,
have to build a
and then you run
relationship.
out.
I think you gotta
Oh,
build a
yeah.
little bit of relationship before you ask for the contact. This is just me.
Yeah.
This is just me. But like, I do think it's totally doable. Once you start doing it, it is completely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that just brought up one other thing that Cody's talked about is like in this world, people expect like. If you have a good conversation with someone at a barbecue and then you like Facebook friended them, that's actually not that weird.
No.
And now you have access to all their info, you know more about them. And so it's like,
Yeah,
you
good
can
point.
use these different tools. That, might have been a little bit creepy at one point, but not at all.
Not anymore.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
so you don't have to necessarily say, hey, well, can I have your phone number? And blah, 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 or, if that
Yeah.
feels uncomfortable.
Mhm.
You gotta be genuine, right? Okay, who's pumped up to go talk to some more people this summer? What are you guys gonna, what are some ideas for things you're gonna do this summer to just talk to more people in an enjoyable way?
Throw a party.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
or
Throw a party. Invite people over to your house. Doesn't be expensive. Do a potluck for crying out loud.
Barbecue and invite your friends to have friends. You ever, you hear a lot of realtors like have like bunko parties or ladies' night or whatever. Do anything that's enjoyable.
Agree.
You can have an enjoyable life.
We had a barbecue this weekend and we were hosting, so I was like scrambling my work all the time, but I did talk to a few people.
Awesome.
Yeah, I wanted like. They're hosting, so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I think this is a fun idea.
It's across the natural, right? People,
yeah.
I want to know, how are you? How's work?
Yeah.
How, it really isn't that.
Yeah. This is,
Far removed.
if I was having a party, I would get a bunch of napkins. They're probably cheap. You can get logo napkins probably for nothing. Get logo napkins done and just have them at your house, have them at your party, like, oh, I use these for open houses. That's all I have. It's like, it's no, but it's saying two things, right? It's saying like, I'm busy. I bring stuff to my open house. And also, it's also a branding opportunity. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, some people, this is like, it's really natural to start talking to strangers. I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
I talk to people everywhere.
Mhm.
But other people are like, you might have to step outside your comfort zone to talk to the people behind you in line or
Mhm.
whatever, even though they're right there. I like that 3 feet rule too.
Mhm.
Where do you do the whole, like, where do you go?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, there's so many things. Just Google Google logo. If you Google logo napkins, I bet you'll get 1,000 things. pop
We
up.
order stuff for the office from Vistaprint, right?
Vistaprint's good.
And there's like get a coupon.
Mhm.
They always
Yeah.
say,
So lots of.
There's a company that does like a full logo thing for you if you want. It's like really simple. It's like Taylor Brands or something like that, and they'll like walk you through. They'll copyright your logo for you. They'll do everything for you. They
Yeah.
also have like a whole catalog of stuff to buy.
Yeah, you could get so many cool things like
Yeah.
Sydney and I just ordered a bunch of the Women's Council Realtors golf balls for the golf tournament. And I was thinking like, in the big, they're relatively inexpensive. Like how cute would that be if you're a big
Mhm.
golfer to like get your logo on some balls and like give it to
Absolutely.
your friends? Yes. Oh yeah, lose a bunch.
No, it's fine.
That's
For a guy
good.
like me, that'd be me. I would never have to give them out. Oh my gosh, if there's a lake, I'm gonna put my ball in it, and there's a guy with a scuba tank down there picking them up, selling them, and they're selling them and selling my logo balls in the pro shop.
"Okay, someone sucks."
Yeah.
This isn't all
Yeah, that's why I'm good.
Right.
Real estate, not good at golf.
Like this, with this weather, this time of year too, it like makes hot buys to your neighbors, right?
Mhm.
Like free contacts day. What if you just knocked on 3 of your neighbors' doors a day for a week straight, right? And like brought them, they had kids, like some bubbles and some American flags for the 4th of July or whatever, right? Like it could be something so easy. But you have to make that connection. I saw somebody speak one time about how there's two real estate agents in the same neighborhood, right? And one of them would sneak into everyone's like yard at night and put like flags out with their name on them, right? But they never knock on the door, right? And then the other agent would like knock on the door and be like, oh, hey, I'm your neighbor, I live right here. Here's some sparklers for the 4th of July, right? Like one is far more impactful. One is far easier,
Mhm.
right? So, if you're gonna spend your time to do something,
Mhm.
don't just like
Yeah.
drop and run.
I was just thinking like,
Make the human connection.
last week I was off and I made celery juice. Trying to get healthy. Celery juice with some, but we also use a bunch of lemons in it. So we're left with like a huge bunch of lemon peels. So we put them in, we bought some vodka and we're pouring a thing. We're like, hey, wait a minute, we should do this because we're gonna make more. We actually like the celery juice. I'm gonna do it more often. I should just start dropping limoncello by the neighbors.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
That's
Just
a
like
good
fun
one.
right?
I love it when people drop by stuff like
Yeah,
that.
right. I've got good neighbors and I could just drop by.
Mhm.
Yeah. And they all
I
like
mean,
lemon,
right.
so.
I was like, who, Terry Schneider's not on, is she? Oh, she makes like all kinds of cute things like room sprays and stuff for her clients or like neighbors for Popeyes. And it's just that like a little bit more personal too, right? But it doesn't have to be anything expensive. It's just
Mhm.
something like thoughtful. So we went a lot of different directions. There's a lot of different ways to touch people, interact with people, but the one
Just
thing is humans, right?
Mhm.
And we as technology increases and we can just do everything in AI and it's almost like you have to try even harder to maintain that human connection, right? You don't have to go to the grocery store. You can just have your groceries delivered and you don't have to go to the bank, right? You don't have to do any of these things, but like finding ways to put yourself out there. Any final thoughts before we wrap this for today? Thank you guys for coming in person after a long holiday weekend. Thank you guys on Zoom. I hope you have a great day and make lots of good human connections.
Yeah, love it.
Bye.
Bye.